On August 15, 1957, the police made a forced entry into the house of William and Margaret Patterson in El Paso, Texas. Authorities received a tip from a guy named Cecil Ward, a close associate of William. He said that he hasn't seen the couple for many weeks and he's worried about their well-being. Upon entry of the house, the place was messy. Dirty dishes on the sink and the couple's expensive possessions were all left behind. Their disappearance was strange. There were no indication that foul play was involved, no signs of blood, broken windows, or damaged doors. The place was just very disorganized. It seems like the couple just left in a hurry and never came back. It's also quite suspicious given that this happened during the height of the Cold War, and it was suggested that there could be a possibility that they were foreign spies. The Patterson lived quite well. William owned a photo service business, drives a nice car, owned a boat, and even have properties in Mexico. The couple were quite mysterious and they were very private, and they didn't like talking about their personal life to anyone. Also, both of them have an unusual upbringing. Growing up, William was not very close to his family. He took various jobs before starting his own business, and when he got married, he became more independent and communicated less to his loved ones. Similar to William, Margaret almost shares the same upbringing. She became more distant to her family as she grew up, but the final nail on the coffin was when she married William. Her family was not in favor of her decision and disapproved their marriage. Even though they were private, they still made friends. Cecil was a good friend of William, and Margaret has her own groups of friends she spends time with. However, whenever there's a discussion of anything personally related, Margaret will refuse to answer. For instance, she doesn't tell her friend when her birthday is, how long she have been married to William, or when the first time she met her husband. To her, this was off limit. So, for them to go missing, it really added a lot of mystery of what the couple was really like in private. During the initial investigation, one of the neighbors came forward and told the police that on March 4, she knocked on the Patterson's door to offer them some cookies. Unfortunately, she didn't receive the reaction she expected. When the Patterson opened the door, the couple were not in the mood to talk and looked very upset that they got a visitor. She was then told to go away, and this was the last time they were seen. Authorities got a hold of William's father, and the police was surprised on what he said about his son's disappearance. He said that he expected that this to happen. I always knew Pat and Margaret would take off like this someday, but I figured it to be 4 or 5 years away. This was a very weird thing to say to a family member. Even though they were not close anymore, it's still odd that he's not concerned about it. He further stated that William have a history of disappearing without telling anyone. My boy has done things like this before. He made his living doing sleight of hand tricks. Clearly, going by his statement, the father was sure that it was just one of William's usual stunts, and he's optimistic that he will come back soon in the future. However, despite the father's confident outlook of the situation, the authorities were very doubtful and left a lot of questions. I mean, if the couple did plan to disappear for a short time, they would have at least leave without making such a mess in their home. The fact that they left their home in such a messy state signals that they left in a hurry, and there's definitely more to this case. So, what could have happened to them? Well, it was suggested that the couple may be on the run. They think that their businesses wasn't going well, and they owe somebody a lot of money. So, it may be possible that they staged their disappearance to start a new life. Speaking of starting over again, it was later discovered that William has a mistress who lived across the Mexican border. Immediately, the police already assumed that William probably killed his wife, then started a new life with his mistress. Surprisingly, in a weird turn of event, this woman came forward to the police and told them that days before the Patterson went missing, William met up with her and told her this: "When they come for me, I'll have to go in a hurry." She didn't elaborate further, but years later, she recanted her statement. Another odd thing was discovered by the investigators. On March 15, their accountant, Herb, received a telegram sent by William, and in the message it stated that all of his business properties will be transferred and distributed to 3 people. The first person was an employee of the shop, the second person was a man named Kirkland, and lastly, Herb the accountant. This was quite strange, since William's relatives are still alive and he didn't even mention them in the message. Nonetheless, the police saw this a huge red flag and the people were questioned. Kirkland was first to be interviewed. He mentioned that he was a business owner and runs a photo service business similar to William, and he's a direct competitor of his. With this information, you would think it was his best interest to get rid of him so his business can prosper. However, he stated that even though they were competitors, they still established a good friendship together. This was then verified by the neighbors. The two indeed have a close relationship despite being business rivals. Herb the accountant and the employee of the shop were questioned next. Now, why would William leave a good portion of his business to them? Unlike Kirkland, who's a good friend of his, the two don't even have a personal relationship with William, so for them to receive a portion of his business was abnormal. Nonetheless, after the authorities interviewed them, nothing significant came about it. The longer the investigation got, the crazier the theories were proposed. Some believed that the couple were foreign spies. Given that they were so private and refused to talk about their personal life to anyone, this disappearance was their escape plan. Also, some stated that they saw William taking a lot of photos near the Fort Bliss military base, taking shots of the shipments coming in. However, apart from that, there is very little evidence they were working for a foreign country. Even with all that, the most probable thing that happened would be that they were actually got kidnapped inside their house. They then were taken to a remote area where they were killed and their bodies were hidden. All in all, despite these suggestions, no more leads came up and eventually the case went cold. Years after the initial investigation, a man came forward to the police who claimed to be the Patterson's cleaner at the time. He said that days prior of the couple's disappearance, he saw a pool of blood on the garage. As of where it came from, he was unsure and didn't bother bringing it up. Now, the only reason why he didn't come forward about this information during the investigation was because at the time he was undocumented and he didn't want to risk getting involved with the situation. Unfortunately, 2 years later, he died in a car accident. The Pattersons were very mysterious people, which made this missing case truly bizarre. The fact that they just left all of their wealth behind and just disappeared into thin air. At the end, up to this day, the case is still unsolved.